First contact gone wrong. The Terran defense vessel Hyperion drifted silently through the darkness of deep space, its advanced stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible against the backdrop of distant stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the mysterious signal source that had brought her ship to the edges of explored space. Multiple contacts emerging from Fold Space, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his sensor station, his voice tight with tension. Energy signatures match nothing in our database. Sarah watched as reality itself seemed to tear open, spilling forth vessels of impossible geometries. They were beautiful in their alienness, crystalline structures that caught and reflected starlight in ways that defied physics. But there was nothing beautiful about their actions. They're attacking the Centauri colony ships, her XO, Commander David Walsh, announced, bringing up a tactical display. The peaceful colony fleet had been following the Hyperion at a distance, part of humanity's first push into this sector of space. No warning, no attempts at communication. They're just slaughtering them. Sarah's jaw tightened as she watched the massacre unfold. The Centauri, a species of gentle philosophers and artists who had become humanity's first alien allies, had no weapons on their ships. They were civilians, families seeking a new home. And these crystalline vessels were cutting them apart with casual efficiency. Battle stations, Sarah ordered, her voice cold. Prep the HFY system. Her crew moved with practiced precision, but she could sense their unease. The theoretical Horizon offensive response system was yet untested in actual combat. It was the product of humanity's unique approach to warfare, the ability to take established laws of physics and bend them just enough to create something new. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Chen of the TDV Hyperion. Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. Cease your attack on civilian targets immediately, or we will be forced to respond. The only answer was another Centauri ship erupting into flames. TOR system online, Chief Engineer Puddled reported from below decks. But Captain, the calculations are complex. At this range with multiple targets. Execute attack pattern Omega, Sarah commanded. Show them why human warships are considered too dangerous for conventional warfare. The Hyperion's hull began to hum as the THOR system spun up. It was an elegant weapon, in its way. It created microscopic singularities, tiny black holes that existed for fractions of a second, and used them to redirect the energy of nearby stars. Physics said it shouldn't work. The alien sensors probably said it was impossible. The first crystalline ship disappeared in a flash of borrowed starlight. Multiple hostile vessels altering course, Rodriguez reported. They're targeting us now. Sarah allowed herself a grim smile. Good. Engineering. Route all power to Thor. Tactical. Plot me a solution that catches all of them in one burst. Navigation. Bring us in closer. I want them to get a good look at what happens when you push humanity into a corner. The Hyperion accelerated, its engines leaving trails of blue fire across the void. The alien vessels moved to surround it, their weapons charging with energies that could tear apart normal matter. But the Hyperion wasn't a normal ship, and its crew weren't normal warriors. They're scanning us, Walsh reported. Heavy signals. They're trying to figure out what we are. Let's give them something to think about, Sarah replied. Execute Thor burst on my mark. The alien vessels fired as one, their crystalline weapons releasing beams of pure destruction. But the Hyperion was ready. The TOR system activated, creating a web of microscopic singularities that caught the incoming fire and redirected it, combined with stellar energy, back at the attackers. The result was spectacular. 7 crystalline ships vanished in an instant, their impossible geometries reduced to scattered atoms. The remaining vessels hung motionless, as if in shock. We're receiving a transmission, Rodriguez announced. Text only, universal mathematical language. They're asking what we are. Sarah stepped forward, her reflection in the observation window overlaying the battlefield beyond. Send them this. We are human. We protect our friends. And we are giving you one chance to retreat before we show you exactly what else our impossible technology can do." The crystalline ships fled, their fold space drives tearing holes in reality as they escaped. Sarah watched them go, then turned to her crew. "Signal the surviving Centauri vessels," she ordered. "Tell them they're under our protection now. And send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them first contact with the Crystal Imperium didn't go as planned. And tell them to ready the rest of the experimental fleet. I have a feeling we're going to need every impossible weapon we can create." As the Hyperion moved to escort the remaining Centauri ships, Sarah reflected on what had just transpired. Humanity had sought peaceful first contact with new civilizations, but they had found something else instead. They had found a war, and they would fight it the only way humans knew how, by doing what everyone else thought couldn't be done. In the days that followed, the story of the Hyperion's stand against the Crystal Imperium spread through both human and alien space. It wasn't just about the technology, though that was impressive enough. It was about the willingness to stand up against overwhelming odds, to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, and to do the impossible simply because it needed to be done. The battle had lasted less than 15 minutes. The war that it sparked would reshape the galaxy, and humanity, with its dangerous ships and impossible weapons, would be at the heart of it all. As Sarah reviewed the after-action reports in her ready room, she received a message from Fleet Command. It was brief, but it made her smile. Production of Taor systems accelerated. All ships to be retrofitted. The impossible is now standard issue. Give them hell, Captain. The war for the galaxy's soul had begun, and humanity, as always, would fight it their own way, by breaking every rule in the book and then writing new ones. The engineering miracle. Deep within the Armstrong Research Station orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Maya Patel stood before a holographic representation of the Crystal Imperium's latest weapon. The alien device had nearly destroyed 3 human colonies before a lucky shot from the Hyperion had disabled it. Now, its scattered remains floated in her lab, a puzzle that could mean the difference between victory and extinction. "The crystals aren't just weapons," she explained to the assembled admirals and scientists. "They're living mathematics. Each facet is a calculation made real." Her hands moved through the hologram, highlighting complex patterns that seemed to defy Euclidean geometry. "The Imperium hasn't been fighting us with technology. They've been wielding pure physics as a weapon." Admiral James Chen, Sarah's father and head of the Defense Fleet's R&D division, leaned forward. "Can we counter it?" Maya smiled, the same kind of smile that had preceded humanity's greatest breakthroughs. "Better. We can steal it. Project Prometheus is ready." The lights dimmed as she brought up another hologram, this one showing a new kind of ship. Unlike the sleek military vessels of the fleet, this craft was almost organic in appearance, its hull covered in what looked like crystalline growths. "The Imperium uses living mathematics to break physics," Maya continued, "but they're limited by their own rigid thinking. They see mathematics as absolute law. We see it as a suggestion." She gestured, and the holographic ship began to transform. "We've developed a hull that can learn from enemy weapons fire. Each hit teaches our crystals new equations. We don't just absorb their attacks. We evolve from them." The room erupted in murmurs of disbelief and excitement. This wasn't just a defensive breakthrough. It was a fundamental shift in how warfare could be conducted. But Admiral Chen saw the catch immediately. The computational power needed for real-time mathematical evolution would be, he began. "Impossible," Maya finished. "That's why we're not using computers. We're using humans." She brought up another display, showing a neural interface system. The crystals will be linked directly to the crew's minds. Human intuition, creativity, and our ability to make impossible logical leaps will guide the ship's evolution. The room fell silent. What Maya was proposing went beyond dangerous. It was the kind of mad science that most species would condemn as an abomination. linking human minds directly to living mathematics. It was exactly the kind of impossible solution that made humanity so terrifying to the rest of the galaxy. Side effects. Admiral Chen asked quietly. Maya's expression grew serious. The test pilots have reported changes. Increased mathematical intuition, the ability to see geometric patterns in reality itself. Some of them dream in equations now, but they're all stable, all functional, and they can do things with the crystal ships that the Imperium would consider impossible. She brought up combat simulation footage. The new ships moved like living things, their crystalline surfaces constantly shifting and adapting. Enemy weapons fire didn't just miss, it was absorbed, analyzed, and turned into new defensive patterns. Each attack made the ships stronger, smarter, more capable. How soon can we begin production? Admiral Chen asked. The first squadron of Prometheus ships is ready now, Maya replied. We've been building them in secret for months. Captain Chen and the Hyperion will lead the test deployment. The Admiral nodded, unsurprised that his daughter had been chosen. Sarah had always been at the forefront of pushing boundaries, and the crew. All volunteers, Maya assured him. The best pilots and tacticians in the fleet. They understand the risks, and they're ready to take the next step in human evolution, if that's what it takes to win this war. As the admirals filed out to brief their commands, Maya turned back to her work. On a screen behind her, status updates from the Prometheus squadron scrolled past. The crews were already linking with their ships, learning to think in living mathematics, preparing to rewrite the laws of physics through sheer human determination. In her private lab notes, Maya added a final entry. The Crystal Imperium believes they have mastered the language of reality itself. But they forgot one crucial fact. Humans have always excelled at learning new languages, then using them to write our own stories. They wield physics as a weapon. We will make it sing. The next phase of the war was about to begin. Humanity would meet the Imperium's living mathematics with their own impossible calculations, guided by minds that refused to accept the very concept of limitations. The galaxy was about to learn why betting against human ingenuity was always a losing proposition. In orbit above Jupiter, the first Prometheus ship activated its crystal matrix. In the neural interface chamber, its pilot opened eyes that now saw the world in equations and smiled as reality itself began to bend to human will. Battle of the Thousand Stars. The Cassiopeia sector blazed with the light of 1,000 suns, each star a potential weapon in the hands of those who knew how to wield them. Captain Sarah Chen, linked to the crystalline consciousness of the enhanced Hyperion, watched as the Crystal Imperium's armada emerged from fold space. 300 ships strong, each one a masterpiece of living mathematics, they filled the void with their impossible geometries. All Prometheus ships, report status, Sarah commanded, her thoughts resonating through the neural network that connected the 12 vessels of humanity's most advanced squadron. One by one, their responses came not in words, but in pure mathematical concepts that her evolved mind now understood instinctively. They were ready. They were afraid. They were eager to prove that humanity's madness could match the Imperium's precision. The Imperium believes they've trapped us, Sarah broadcast to her crews. They see the stellar cluster as a cage. We see it as an arsenal. Begin Operation Start Answer. The Prometheus ships moved as one, their crystalline surfaces rippling with equations drawn from the fabric of space itself. The Imperium fleet responded with their traditional opening move, a cascade of weaponized mathematics that could rewrite the laws of physics within a targeted area. But humanity had learned new laws. Execute primary sequence, Sarah commanded. Through her neural link, she felt her ship's crystals resonate with the stellar radiation surrounding them. Each of the 1,000 nearby stars became a note in a symphony of pure energy, conducted by human minds that had evolved beyond traditional physics. The first wave of Imperium fire struck the Prometheus squadron. Instead of attempting to evade, The human ships absorbed the attacks. Their crystalline surfaces analyzed the mathematical patterns, adapted, evolved, and grew stronger. Second sequence, Sarah ordered, watching through both normal vision and mathematical perception as the battle unfolded. The Prometheus ships began to move in impossible patterns, leaving trails of equations in their wake. Each maneuver rewrote local spacetime, creating a web of altered physics that the Imperium ships couldn't navigate. "They're adjusting," Commander Walsh reported, his thoughts carrying strategic analyses drawn from the ship's evolving calculations. New attack pattern forming. The Imperium fleet split into geometric formations that Sarah's enhanced mind recognized as fourth-dimensional attack vectors. They were attempting to box in the human squadron with mathematical constructs that would make escape literally impossible. Sarah smiled. "Execute final sequence. Show them why we named this Operation Stardancer." The Prometheus squadron separated, each ship taking position near a different star. Through their neural links, the human crews reached out to the stellar bodies around them. What the Imperium had never understood was that stars themselves were expressions of living mathematics. Nuclear fusion was just another equation waiting to be rewritten. "Now," Sarah commanded. 12 stars pulsed in perfect synchronization as the Prometheus ships connected with them. Solar flares erupted not with natural randomness, but with calculated precision, each one a weapon guided by human consciousness merged with crystal computation. The Imperium fleet's perfect formations, shattered as space itself, seemed to come alive around them. Solar plasma, guided by impossible mathematics, formed patterns that even their living crystal ships couldn't comprehend. Where they expected order, they found artistic chaos. Where they sought mathematical certainty, they encountered human intuition enhanced by crystalline evolution. "They're breaking formation," Walsh reported with grim satisfaction. "Their equations can't handle the variability we're introducing." Sarah watched as the first Imperium ships began to fall. Some were consumed by precisely guided solar flares. Others found their own mathematical weapons reflected back at them, enhanced by human creativity and crystal evolution. Still others simply ceased to exist as the laws of physics in their immediate vicinity were rewritten by minds that saw scientific laws as guidelines rather than absolutes. "Signal the second wave," Sarah ordered. From the edge of the system, 30 more Prometheus ships emerged from stealth, their crews fresh and their crystals hungry for new equations to absorb and evolve from. The Imperium fleet began to retreat, their perfect geometric formations dissolving into chaos. They had come expecting to face primitive beings playing with stolen technology. Instead, they had encountered something their rigid mathematical minds couldn't process: humanity's unique ability to take the impossible and make it routine. As the battle wound down, Sarah received a transmission from the Imperium flagship. Unlike their usual mathematical communications, this one came in simple binary code. "What are you?" Through her crystal-enhanced consciousness, Sarah crafted a reply that would be burned into the memory of every surviving Imperium ship. "We are human. We take your perfect equations and add variables you never dreamed of. We are chaos mathematicians, quantum poets, and stellar artists, and we're just getting started." The remaining Imperium ships fled, leaving behind a graveyard of crystalline wreckage and altered physics. The Battle of the Thousand Stars, as it would come to be known, marked a turning point in the war. The Imperium had learned that humanity wasn't just using living mathematics, they were evolving it, pushing it beyond its creator's imagination. In the aftermath, as her crew worked to stabilize the local space-time anomalies their battle had created, Sarah sent a message back to Earth. It contained only a few words, but they would become legendary in the annals of human warfare. The stars themselves danced to human equations now. Victory is no longer mathematically impossible. The silent strategy. In the crystalline halls of the Imperium's High Command, First Calculator EX-427 felt something he had never experienced in his 300 cycles of existence: doubt. The mathematical patterns that made up his consciousness rippled with uncertainty as he reviewed the latest battle reports. The humans weren't just fighting anymore. They were teaching. "Show me the Epsilon Sector incident again," he commanded. The living crystal walls of his chamber refracted, displaying the event that had sparked a crisis of faith throughout the Imperium. A single human ship, its hull barely half a kilometer long, had approached an Imperium mining colony. Standard protocols dictated immediate destruction of any human vessel, but this ship had done something unprecedented. It had transmitted the mathematical proofs behind its crystal evolution technology to every receiver in the system, not as a weapon, not as a threat, but as a gift. Before the local defense fleet could react, the human ship had vanished, leaving behind nothing but knowledge. Knowledge that was now spreading through the crystalline networks of the Imperium like a virus of innovation. Second incident. Ta Siti, X-427 commanded. Another display formed, showing a different human tactic. This time, they had left behind small crystal seeds near an Imperium outpost. When discovered, these seeds had begun teaching young crystal formations new ways to grow, new paths of mathematical evolution that the Imperium had never considered possible. In his private chambers aboard the enhanced Hyperion, Commander David Walsh reviewed the success of Operation Enlightenment with satisfaction. The psychological warfare campaign had been his idea, born from a simple observation. The Crystal Imperium wasn't truly evil. They were simply stuck in mathematical orthodoxy. Latest reports from our deep space monitoring posts. Lieutenant Rodriguez announced, his mind voice carrying through their ship's crystal network. 3 more Imperium worlds have begun experimenting with human-style mathematical evolution. Their ruling councils are in chaos. Sarah Chen's consciousness merged with the discussion, her thoughts tinged with the complex harmonies she learned to create with stellar mathematics. "The best way to defeat an enemy is to turn them into students," she quoted. The Imperium built their entire civilization on the idea that mathematics was rigid and absolute. We're showing them that it can dance. Throughout Imperium space, the effects of humanity's silent strategy were spreading. Young crystal formations, naturally curious about new mathematical possibilities, began attempting human-style innovations. Older crystalline beings found themselves questioning doctrines that had stood unchanged for millennia. The humans hadn't just invented a new way to wage war. They had sparked a cultural revolution. In a secret chamber deep within Earth's quantum computing complex, Dr. Maya Patel received a transmission that made her smile. It was encoded in a hybrid of Imperium crystal speak and human mathematical notation, a new language born from the merger of 2 ways of thinking. The message was from a group calling themselves the Free Equation Movement, crystal beings who had embraced human mathematical philosophy. They weren't asking to surrender. They were asking to learn. "This is how we win," Maya explained to Admiral Chen in their next briefing. "Not by destroying their civilization, but by helping it evolve. Every crystal being that learns to think like a human becomes a teacher to others. The rigid mathematics of war becomes the flowing mathematics of cultural exchange." The Admiral studied the reports of Imperium ships refusing to fire on human vessels, of crystal worlds declaring themselves independent learning zones, of young crystal formations spontaneously developing human-like mathematical creativity. "They're calling it the Great Awakening," he noted. "Their philosophers are in an uproar. Some are claiming that human mathematics is a form of cosmic heresy. Others are hailing it as a mathematical renaissance." "That's the real power of humanity," Maya replied. "Not our weapons or our ships or even our crystal evolution technology. It's our ability to take absolute truths and show how they can be reimagined. We're not just winning battles, we're winning minds." In the weeks that followed, the war began to transform. Imperium attack fleets would arrive at human worlds only to find themselves engaged in mathematical dialogues instead of battles. Crystal beings who had never questioned their mathematical doctrines began experimenting with human-style intuitive calculations. The silent strategy was working better than anyone had dared to hope. The Imperium wasn't being destroyed. It was being taught, challenged, inspired to evolve. Their rigid crystal matrices were learning to dance with human mathematical chaos, creating new forms of computation that neither civilization had dreamed possible. Sarah Chen watched from the Hyperion's command crystal as another Imperium battle group approached. But their formation wasn't the perfect geometric pattern of warfare. It was the flowing, evolving configuration of students coming to learn. They're requesting permission to attempt a human-style stellar calculation, Walsh reported, his thoughts carrying a note of amazement. They want to learn how to make the stars dance. Sarah smiled, remembering her own first attempts to merge human intuition with crystal mathematics. Grant their request, she ordered, and send them the educational protocols. It's time they learned that the most beautiful equations are the ones that break the rules. The war wasn't over, but its nature had changed. Humanity had discovered that the most powerful weapon in their arsenal wasn't their technology or their tactics. It was their ability to inspire change, to show others that the impossible was just the starting point for new possibilities. In his crystal chamber, First Calculator X427 made a decision that would change the course of his civilization. He began composing a message to the human fleet, not in the rigid mathematics of the Imperium, but in the flowing, evolving calculations he had learned from studying their techniques. It wasn't a surrender. It was an application to become the first official Imperium student of human mathematical philosophy. Victory through understanding. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Concordat sparkled with crystalline light as beings of both organic and mathematical nature gathered for what many were calling the most significant diplomatic event in known history. The massive chamber, specially constructed to accommodate both human and crystal entities, hummed with a harmony of traditional and evolved mathematics. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her neural crystal interface allowing her to perceive both the physical and mathematical aspects of the historic moment. Beside her, First Calculator X427's crystalline form shimmered with complex equations that expressed both nervousness and hope. 10 cycles ago, Sarah began, her words simultaneously translated into crystal harmonics. Our civilizations were locked in a war that threatened to tear the galaxy apart. Today, we gather to celebrate not just peace, but a transformation that neither side could have predicted. The assembled delegates, human, crystal, and various allied species, resonated with attention. Among them sat Dr. Maya Patel, her own neural crystals glowing softly as she monitored the combined mathematical and emotional frequencies of the gathering. The Crystal Imperium sought perfection through mathematical purity. Sarah continued, humanity sought understanding through innovation and adaptation. We could have destroyed each other. Instead, we learned from each other. X427 moved forward, his crystalline voice harmonizing with Sarah's words. The humans taught us that mathematics isn't just a law to be followed. It's a language to be explored. They showed us that chaos and creativity aren't enemies of order, but catalysts for evolution. Holographic displays throughout the chamber showed the fruits of their combined knowledge. New ships that merged Imperium precision with human intuition, healing centers where crystal mathematics helped repair organic injuries, schools where young minds of both species learned to see the universe through each other's perspectives. But perhaps our greatest achievement, Sarah said, gesturing to a group of children entering the chamber, is this. The children, human and crystal alike, moved to the center of the hall. The human children wore neural interfaces that let them perceive crystal mathematics, while the young crystal formations had learned to process human emotions and creativity. Together, they began a demonstration that left the assembly in awe. Working as one, the children created a mathematical energy construct that was neither purely human nor purely Imperium in nature. It was something new. A dancing equation that expressed joy through numbers, a formula that could laugh, a theorem that could dream. This is the future we've created, X427 announced proudly, not through conquest or domination, but through understanding and growth. Maya stood to present the technical achievements their collaboration had spawned. The Pyrometeus project was just the beginning, she explained. By combining human creativity with Imperium precision, we've developed technologies that neither of us thought possible. The displays showed their joint accomplishments: ships that could heal themselves using evolved crystal matrices, communication systems that could transmit both information and emotion across vast distances, and perhaps most importantly, educational systems that taught both species how to think in new ways. But the real victory, Sarah continued, isn't in our technology. It's in our understanding that diversity, of thought, of approach, of being, isn't a weakness to be feared, but a strength to be embraced. From orbit, the combined human crystal defense fleet maintained its watch over the proceedings. The ships, like their crews, were neither purely one species nor the other, but a harmonious blend of both philosophies. They stood as symbols of how far both civilizations had come. Admiral Chen, watching from Earth via quantum crystal transmission, nodded in approval as the assembly moved to ratify the final articles of the Concordat. The document wasn't just a peace treaty. It was a roadmap for continued growth and cooperation between species that had once thought themselves incompatible. The stars themselves have witnessed our journey, Sarah concluded, her words resonating through both physical and mathematical space. From enemies to teachers, from teachers to partners, and now from partners to family. The impossible equations we once used to wage war now serve to build bridges between our peoples. X-427's crystal matrix pulsed with agreement. We thought we understood the mathematics of existence. Humans showed us that understanding is an endless journey, not a destination. As the assembly erupted in approval, Sarah felt the neural crystal network buzz with emotions and equations from across the galaxy. Crystal beings experimenting with human creativity, humans learning the precision of crystal thought, and everywhere, the excitement of discovering new possibilities. The final signing was witnessed by representatives from 100 species, each bringing their own unique perspectives to the growing galactic community. The Crystal Imperium, once rigid in its isolation, had become a beacon of mathematical innovation. Humanity, once seen as dangerously unpredictable, was now respected as a teacher of creative evolution. In the decades that followed, the partnership would transform the galaxy. The combined human crystal fleets would become peacekeepers rather than warriors, their impossible technologies turned to exploration and discovery. The schools established under the Concordat would produce generations of thinkers who could bridge the gap between organic intuition and mathematical precision. And in the vast spaces between the stars, ships of both species would continue to dance their mathematical ballets, proving that the most beautiful equations were the ones written by those who dared to dream beyond the possible. The war that had begun with a single act of aggression had ended not just in peace, but in transformation. It served as a lesson to all species that the greatest victories come not from destroying your enemies, but from helping them grow into something greater than either of you could have become alone. As the ceremony concluded, Sarah and X-427 shared a moment of perfect mathematical emotional harmony, a blend of human joy and crystal precision that embodied everything they had achieved. The impossible had become routine, the unthinkable had become normal, and the future stretched before them like an endless equation waiting to be solved together.